My ex-wife, 34, sent an email to me, 34 male, pleading with me not to marry my fiancé, 27 female. My fiancé wants to share the letter on her social media to expose my ex-wife, but I feel she should be the bigger person and ignore her. My ex-wife Lily and I started dating in college and were together for almost 10 years, married for 4. I thought we had a perfect relationship. However, around 6 years ago, Lily sat me down and told me she was unhappy with our marriage and felt like she missed out on many fun things in life because we got married early and spent all our effort on our career and finances. We're both lawyers and spent a lot of our time on our law school, bar exam, etc., and got really high-paying jobs. She felt she never got to live an independent life and find herself. I was heartbroken, as I didn't know a life without her. We went through a lot of stress during our marriage and could see her side. We split amicably and got a divorce soon, as we didn't have any assets or kids to worry about. Everything went okay for the first few months. However, Lily started getting panic attacks and went into depression after she started living alone. I still cared about her and helped her during that time. She was also diagnosed with BPD and has been in therapy since. We stayed friends as the transition was difficult for both of us. However, I tried to move on from her by going on dates. Lily and I remained good friends for almost a year after our divorce. She asked me a few times if we should try to work on our marriage, but I had moved on and told her we were better off as friends than as a couple. I met Mila at our running club and we hit it off. Mila was much younger than me but really matched my energy, and we started dating seriously soon after. Mila expressed that she found it uncomfortable that Lily was still such a big part of my life. I also wanted to invest all my energy in my relationship with Mila. I told Lily that I would be distancing myself from her. Lily reluctantly agreed, and we stopped texting each other daily. We only met on social occasions such as wedding or parties, as we both share the same group of friends. Lily and Mila never got along, but Mila tolerated Lily for me. Mila and I have been dating for 3 years, and I proposed to her during the summer holidays last year when we visited her parents' house. We've been busy planning our wedding and plan to get married in September. Everything was going well until last week. I received this email from Lily last week pleading that I shouldn't marry Mila. It was a long email discussing how we're soulmates and meant to be together. It was extremely delusional, and she talked about how I was just punishing her by being in a relationship with Mila. She's learned her lesson, and I should take her back now. It talked about how I'd be abandoning her after I promised that I would take care of her in sickness and health for her entire life. And my new marriage vows will be meaningless, since I promised all those things to her. I immediately told Mila about this and told her that Lily had crossed the line, and I would not only block her everywhere, but make sure I had no contact with her. Mila was very upset too, and started cursing out Lily on how she was planning to ruin her special day. Mila told me that she wanted a screenshot of the email, and she sent it to my parents. They, of course, supported Mila and told her that Lily had to be cut off forever from our lives, and I agreed. Mila wants to share the email on her Instagram and Facebook so that all our friends will also see Lily's behavior, so they'll all block her and never invite her to any events. This is where I don't agree with Mila. I know that Lily's not mentally well and hasn't been depressed again since we announced our engagement. Lily's tried to reach out to me through my friends, but I've not allowed her to speak to me alone. I feel bad for Lily, and Mila sharing the post would only extend the drama. I also worry that my friends know about Lily's mental condition, and it would be petty to hurt her while I'm moving on and marrying an amazing person, in Mila. I told Mila about all this, and she felt that I was still trying to protect Lily when she had tried to hurt Mila by sending that email. I don't know what to do at this point. Am I the idiot to ask Mila not to share the email on social media so everyone can see Lily's private email to me? Is Mila right that Lily deserves all the hurt that she'd get after she makes the email public? Edit. I've yet to reply to the email. I don't intend to, and I prefer to ignore her. Lily cannot be so delusional that I would read the email and leave my fiancé for her. I feel ignoring the email sends a message and does not extend the drama or the conversation further. What do you mean you don't know what to do? You don't want the letter shared. End of story. You're not the idiot here. Tell Mila that you don't want it shared, as she doesn't have your consent to share a private correspondence addressed to you. If she won't drop it or shares it anyway, that's a massive red flag. I would be embarrassed if my partner was publicly being a mean girl. So why exactly didn't you go no contact years ago? You're keeping Lily hanging is what caused all this insecurity. You are the idiot because you should have cut your ex off a long time ago. Your lack of boundaries might be why your fiancé wants to post the letter, as a way to make sure your ex won't keep causing drama. Grow a spine. Why haven't you emailed your ex back and made it extremely clear that you love your fiancé and it's never happening? If you did that, your fiancé likely wouldn't feel the need to go nuclear. She showed the letter to your parents for a reason, probably to make sure boundaries were set. He hasn't answered the email? Oh no wonder Mila's so angry about OP shielding Lily. No, what you're doing right now is running away. You need to respond to that email and tell her firmly that it's never going to happen. Her email was extremely disrespectful, and you will never talk to her again. So don't ever try again. You need to be an adult and communicate clearly to her, and then block her email. Then you can ignore any subsequent communications with her. My sister, 38, asked me, 26 female, if I would babysit her 2 daughters, kindergarten and pre-K, while she gives birth to her 3rd child. I told her no because I didn't feel comfortable babysitting them. My sister asked me why, and I told her that the girls were not getting along, and all the trouble between them was more than I could handle for an unknown time. I told her nothing would make me more willing to babysit in these circumstances. For those wondering how bad it can be between them, it's bad. Sibling rivalry, or whatever this is, has been awful between them since they started any kind of independent play. They're very mean to each other. They get very loud together because they'll scream at each other and throw things so the other can't play with it. There is no setting where they can get along. My parents have babysat them together, and they told me it was exhausting, and none of the consequences for being mean or acting out helped them calm down. My dad said it was like 2 fighting cats, and nothing short of separating them calms things down. My sister and I went out with the girls before she got pregnant, just a girls' day out. I wasn't even alone with them then, and I felt out of my depth. They fought the whole day, and the oldest says she hates her sister a lot. The youngest is the loudest during any fight or when she's expressing an issue with her sister. The hug it out method that my sister and her husband use never works. They refuse to touch at all, let alone hug. They can never find a hired babysitter who will keep the girls for the agreed time. They always get called home early from dates. They've tried over 20 babysitters. My sister is aware of the problems between her girls. She doesn't like when anyone tries to give advice about what to do. So I didn't go into more detail with her when I was explaining why, but she said we needed to sit down and have a more in-depth discussion about my reasons because she wants to try and figure something out, seeing as I'm the best person for the job. I told her we had no reason to have this discussion and that she needed to accept my no and find someone else to babysit. She told me it's too risky to deliver alone because she's always had complicated deliveries. Her husband needs to be beside her and not home with the girls, so I need to talk this out with her and help her. Am I the idiot? Edit. Kids are not in therapy at all. My sister and her husband feel the girls are too young for therapy to be involved or needed. Not the idiot. Given sister's unwillingness to listen to any advice, I'm willing to bet she's expecting kid number 3 to be the magical cure for these sibling issues. Even if that's not the case, I feel terrible for that kid. I want to laugh out loud, but there are kids involved. Your sister sounds like she's intentionally being blind here. I'm so sorry. I think she has a parenting paradigm in mind, and it sounds like some crunchy crap, given the hug it out mention. And she's way too deep into the ideology to accept that it's simply wrong. Admitting it's wrong means admitting her entire belief system could well be wrong, and that's really hard for people to do. Sadly, by the time your sister and her husband think the girls are old enough, there will be entrenched problems, both psychological and behavioral, and it'll be too late. Still, not the idiot. Not your kids, not your problem. Being honest and upfront that you can't handle them is better than burning yourself out for other people's problems. They need to hire 2 babysitters and engage the kids separately. This is something that happened only a few days ago. My niece Sierra, 24 female, had a baby a few weeks ago. She and her partner decided they didn't want anyone at the hospital and would handle visits when things settled. Her dad and stepmom offered to host any family on her paternal side that she wanted to have meet the baby, and she agreed, and I was invited. During the visit, my brother was holding Sierra's baby, and he told my sister-in-law, who's step-grandma, that their first grandchild looked just like her, and that Sierra's child was a mini sister-in-law. Sierra told her dad not to say that. He told her it was true, and she should be proud. My sister-in-law asked her why that offends her so much. After all, she is a grandma, and these things can't happen. Sierra said she's a step. She's a stepmom, a step-grandma. She's not biologically related to her or her child, and both need to accept that and stop trying to force this idea that they, Sierra and her child, but also Sierra's full siblings, look like my sister-in-law. My brother told her to calm down and stopped acting hormonal and like there's something wrong with finding familiar features in family. Sierra took her baby off my brother and passed the baby to her partner. Then she told them my sister-in-law is not her real family, is not her real mom, is not who she looks like. She told them she's always looked just like her mom and so does her baby. She told them she had warned them they were going to stop acting like my sister-in-law was her actual mom and the actual grandma, or she would walk. And she did. She told them she was done. I followed Sierra out, which angered my brother and sister-in-law. I soothed Sierra and reassured her that we haven't all forgotten her mom. Once I got home, I realized the anger my brother and sister-in-law held toward me for leaving too, because I had several texts. They told me I had defended Sierra being unreasonably nasty to them, and especially to my sister-in-law, and I should have stayed to support them instead of Sierra. For those who'll ask for background, my brother was widowed young. Sierra was the oldest at preteen, and her siblings were toddlers. My brother remarried 18 months after his first wife died. He'd known my sister-in-law for 6 months at the time. It was very fast for Sierra, but the marriage also started because my brother wanted the kids to have a mom, which is something Sierra never liked. And she's never cared for my sister-in-law, but has learned to tolerate her over time. But my brother and sister-in-law do like to talk as though my sister-in-law birthed the 3 original kids, which I mentioned before wasn't right because their moms still deserve to be recognized. I was ignored, however, and to clarify what I mean by that, my sister-in-law and my brother says the kid will look just like my sister-in-law when all 3 favor their mom heavily, or they'll claim they have saved for the kid since birth. They also describe Sierra as their firstborn child. Comments of that nature are very common from them. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your brother is, to be honest. I'm an auntie and my loyalty is always 100% to my niece and nephew. Sierra's well-being is paramount here. Your sister-in-law and brother are overstepping. Sierra's probably really missing her mother now more than ever. It was grossly insensitive and just plain cruel. Right? Loyal auntie here as well, and nobody's getting in the way of that. Honestly, the nerve of people like this to demand people coddle their delusions. If they want to live in La La Land, they can reside there alone. Lie to yourself if you want, but don't ask me to be complicit. Oh heck, Sierra sounds like she's done with a lifetime of this nonsense at the expense of her own feelings. And for her dad/your brother to tell her to stop being hormonal is gross, and likely not the first time or only time hormones have been used to disregard the legitimate pain and frustration Sierra has about your sister-in-law and this behavior. If anything, you need to support her more. My 39 male, wife 39 female, and I had our son, 22, at 16. We broke up before she gave birth, but we got back together when our son was 9. Around 3 months ago, we discovered that our son didn't want any kids. When my wife found out, she was upset and thought it had something to do with us. But he told us that it wasn't, and he just didn't want any kids and wanted a stress-free life. Recently, my wife started mentioning the topic of having more kids, which wasn't new for her. She loves kids and has always wanted more. She said that she's sad that she'll get to miss out on being a grandma, and she misses when our son was young. I considered this, and having another child would be a beautiful addition to our family. When our son was growing up, I didn't really want any more kids. I was a one-and-done person, and I feel like I deprived her of having more. She really made me see the bright side of it, so I told her that I agreed with her. Our son still lives with us, so we let him know what we were thinking and asked him how he'd feel if he had a little sister or brother. When we talked to our son about adopting, he was surprised. He asked if we were doing this because he didn't want kids, and we told him it wasn't the primary factor. I told him that he knew his mom always wanted kids, and the only thing that was stopping her from having them was me. I told him that his choice just made us think more about it. Even though we tried to explain, he wasn't happy. He was worried about the big age difference between him and a new sibling. He used my age gap with my siblings as an example, which I didn't think was appropriate because the situations would be different. My son got his aunt, my wife's sister, involved, and she got mad at me for feeding into my wife's delusions and brought up the age gap again. Our son agreed with his aunt, especially about the age gap. He says having a sibling so much younger than him will be weird. I don't think the age gap is that big of a deal, but the criticism has made me rethink our decision. My wife also started to have second thoughts when she realized not everyone supports us. She thought everyone would be happy, but our son's reaction dampened her spirits. Are we wrong for wanting to adopt a child? Not the idiot. However, don't expect any sort of sibling-adjacent companionship between the two of them. They will have completely different childhoods, just because you and your wife are in a different place now. The entire culture has shifted in 22 years, so the outside environment is different too. None of the same shows are popular. Technology has changed a lot, and even the types of toys available now are different. They will have absolutely nothing in common besides you and your wife being in their lives. Also, he's 22. He may not want kids now, but he's 22, and he's a man. The biological clock is nowhere near as much of an issue as it is for a lady. Not that a 22-year-old lady should be pressured into having a baby, least of all because of their parents' obvious issues. Maybe he's worried he'll end up taking on some responsibilities. If you make it clear that he won't be parentified in any way, that might help him relax. Maybe he's worried he'll get asked to move out, so there'll be room for a new kid. OP, what do you think a 22-year-old man will say when you ask him if he wants to be a big brother? I mean, you can't really be surprised here. Your decision to have another child isn't up to your oldest child, regardless of his age.